Hey folks, Jim, Leila, and Crystal here. Welcome to our 90th episode.
Yay!
That's right, it's only 10 weeks away until our 100th big episode. And we want you to give us some ideas. Like, oh, I don't know, we do an episode all naked.
No.
No?
No, not that one. How about we have puppets do all the reviews?
We could do puppets.
No.
Or we could all review the same book.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. We could argue about the merits of certain books.
We could also physically fist fight about the merits of certain books.
That's true.
But I'd let you guys kick my ass.
Would you?
Yeah.
That makes it no fun.
It's no fun to kick a girl's ass, I mean, really.
No.
But, people, we need your ideas for episode 100. It's like maybe an opening animation or something like that. But give us something cool. We want your ideas so we can use them.
And make it special.
See you in 10 episodes.
Bye! Hey comic book fans, it's Leila here from the Comic Connection with this week's comic book reviews. First up, we've got Blackest Night number 2 of 8, written by Jeff Johns with art by Ivan Rice. And this one, Green Lantern and the Flash fight Black Lantern, Martian Manhunter, and drop in on Barbara and Jim Gordon. Mara and Garth face off against Black Lantern Aquaman, and the empty grave of Boston's Brand is discovered. That whole story is continued on in Blackest Night Batman number 1. And a new Blackest Lantern arises that is so awesome, but I just don't want to tell you because it would sort of spoil everything. So you have to read it to find out. This is a really good read. The power struggle is on, sort of between the Black Lanterns and the people who have filled the void in their lives. It's a really dark story. I'm really enjoying it so far. If you're not reading Blackest Night, you really should go and give it a try. It's a good read. Next up, we've got Ultimate Comics Spider-Man number 1, written by Brian Michael Bendis with art by David Lafuente. In this one, Peter Parker is 16, and he has a really crappy fast food job, and it's about 6 months after the Ultimatum wave that happened in Ultimatum. That was supposed to sort of bring a close to the whole Ultimate Universe, but now we're back with a new Ultimate line here. He's still fighting crime with the full awareness of Aunt May, who washes his uniform, and his girlfriend Gwen Stacy, who asks him how his day has been. But he's not the only one fighting crime in the city. There's also a mysterious figure in a red cloak, and there's a man who's dropped into town and is trying to make a large impression by offing a particularly big character. This is a pretty good read. It's pretty much typical of what you expect of a Spider-Man story. If you're sort of a new Spidey reader, this might be a place to jump on because it literally feels like a reboot. The only thing I didn't really like about it is the art at times. It's great when it's just Peter. But then when he's Spider-Man, all of a sudden he has like a circular head, which is really weird and off-putting, and I just didn't really like how the artist drew like sort of the superhero part. When it's just plain human stuff, it was really good and I liked it, but when it was the Spider-Man costume, it was just really weird. Anyways, next up we've got Marvel's Project, number 1 of 8, written by Ed Brubaker and art by Steve Epting. In this one, an elderly man named Matt Hawk imparts a vision of the future to Dr. Hathaway, a future with gods and monsters and heroes with shields and armor. And 1 year later, a government-funded program spawns the birth of a human torch. And at the same time, the Nazis are running experiments on creatures from the sea and run afoul of their prince. The arms race seems to be on. Meanwhile, Nick Fury and Red Hargrove are recruited for a special mission. This was a pretty awesome beginning. I really liked the story. The art was pretty good. I generally like this team because I love Captain America, and it's the same team doing this. So it's no surprise that I really like this. But what I find really interesting is that this story could be the one that explains the beginning of Mutations. It might be a whole new beginning to the origin story for the whole Marvel Universe. So I'm really dying to find out if that's where the series is heading, and if it is, it's just really exciting. You have to get onto this series early. And last but not least, we've got Blackest Night Batman, number 1 of 3. This is written by Peter J. Tomasi, and the art's by Ardian Syed. In this one, Deadman, or Boston Brand, drops in on Dick and Damian to clue them in on the Black Lantern's movements, and some long-lost members of the Batman family have arisen. I really loved it. It was really good. I actually preferred this one a little bit to Blackest Night number 2. There's really some interesting Black Lanterns that rise, including Deadman. It's great story and art, so if you are trying to read the Blackest Night series, this is definitely a tie-in to pick up.
Hey folks, Jim here with this week's comic book reviews. First up, today's Ulterior Motives, Volume 1, written and drawn by Sakuya Fuji. In this one, Sonari is a well-known playwright and director who takes Makoto under his wing, training him how to be a better actor, with a lot of hands-on training. This is the first time I've ever read a yaoi. It's good art, pretty good story. It's a lot of man-on-man action with a lot of men forcing the other man on top of each other. So maybe if it's for you, maybe you'll enjoy it. I didn't really enjoy it that much, but it's not bad. It's not horrible. I've seen much worse. And believe me, I've seen much worse. But if you're a fan, and you're probably a female, if you're going to really enjoy yaoi, it's not a bad read. Try it out. Next up, Ninja High School number 172, written by Robbie Bevard with art by Ben Dunn. And in this one, finally back in Quagmire, Ricky runs afoul of the ones he once called friends, as Ricky is forced to battle Kuro for something he never did. As the series comes to a close at number 175, it just keeps getting better and better. I'm really enjoying what Robbie and Ben are doing with this series, so you might as well. Check it out. Next up, Transformers, Tales of the Fallen, number 1, written by Chris Mowry with art by Carlos Magno. In this one, Bumblebee tries to get used to somewhat normal life as Sam's car, but when Sam is kidnapped by Barricade, Bumblebee must once again jump into action. This is a prequel to the movie, so if you haven't seen the movie, check this book out, because it actually makes a little more sense with the movie going on. Good story, good art. I actually really enjoyed this. Carlos Magno, as a Transformers artist, is quite good, and Chris Mowry is getting better and better as he goes on as a writer. So if you're a Transformers fan, check it out. Next up, Gold Digger, Tifanny and Charlotte Second Semester number 2, written by Fred Perry with art by J.L. Anderson. And in this one, Irwin Talon, genetic genius, comes to school and soon learns he's not as big a genius as he thinks he is. This issue was absolutely freaking hilarious. I love this book. JL's art is fantastic always. Fred's story is funny as all get out. I loved it. It was great. I only wish it was in color.
Hi everyone, it's Crystal here with this week's comic book reviews. Up first we have Red Herring number 1 with story by Tishman and art by Bond. So this is the story of Maggie, who is a congressman's aide. She is sleeping with her boss and her best friend's boyfriend and is highly emotionally dependent on her mother and financially dependent on her father. I have to say, I'm not her biggest fan. So she gets caught up in a Washington conspiracy, is thrown off a bridge, and is rescued by the red-headed male title character whose name is Red Herring. There's also some hints that there may be some aliens involved later on in the series, and that could get really exciting. But so far, I feel like the lead character, Maggie, isn't really a person that I'm very interested in, and the things that are horrible that are happening to her seem to be mostly her fault, so I'm gonna have to say subpar. Up next, we have Inferno number 1, which is the next in the Red Circle series. So last week I reviewed The Hangman, which was also part of the Red Circle series. So this one is a story by Straczynski and art by Scott. This is another origin story, sort of, because we don't really get the origins explained to us. The main character, Inferno, is the only survivor of a shipwreck who has no memory, but someone is trying to kill him. Eventually we have a cameo from The Hangman from last week, and the two of them dismantle a bomb together. I have to say, I preferred The Hangman to this one. It doesn't have a very cohesive story, and there's a lot left unanswered, but instead of being really interested in what happens and all these answers, I just kind of feel like, well, whatever. So, of the two, I would definitely say pick up Hangman. And last but not least, we have Escape from Wonderland number 1 from the Grimm's Fairy Tale series. In this one, Callie comes to Wonderland to get her daughter back. She storms the Queen Castle and eventually finds out that her daughter is with the Mad Hatter and has already been taken to the Caterpillar. So with this series, I find that the art is always beautiful. There's really bright, wonderful colors, and there's a lot of texture, and I really enjoy the very curvaceous way that the women are depicted. But the story and the dialogue is always just kind of meh. So I have to say, if you're in it just for the art and you love bodacious looking ladies, then this title is for you. But if you're really interested in a deep, multi-layered story, you want to skip this one. Anyways, see you guys next week.